Hello students, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to start with Act 3 Scene 1 of The Tempest. This is a part of the Tempest series that I had started. We have already seen that in the previous video I had discussed the major themes and ideas that are there in this particular act, in this particular scene. So let us start reading the text directly. Now, in Act 3, Scene 1, you will find that the scene begins with Ferdinand entering bearing a log. So, we already know that he was given a task by Prospero. He was supposed to carry logs and pile them. So, he enters carrying the logs. Now, this first part, Ferdinand, this entire soliloquy where he alone speaks, it is very important because it shows his sincerity towards Miranda. He is not watched by anyone. In this particular scene, the scene begins with Ferdinand's soliloquy. He is completely alone. He is not accompanied by he is not accompanied by Miranda, and Prospero is not around yet. So here he is speaking out his mind, and this shows his true honest intentions. So let us start. Ferdinand. There be some sports are painful, and their labor delight in them sets off. So there be some sports. So he is referring here mainly to outdoor sports. He says there are certain outdoor sports which are painful. Painful here means which are tiring. And their labor delight in them sets off. That means that their labor delight in them sets off means, but delight in doing them, delight in engaging in these outdoor games somehow make up for the toil, make up for the hard work. Some kinds of baseness are nobly undergone, and he somehow tries to console himself since he is doing this menial task of bearing the log. So he somehow tries to console himself by saying that one may perform base acts. For him, manual labor is base act because he is a prince, he is not used to manual labor. He doesn't do these household chores, he does not pile logs. So for him it is a very base task. And he says that though he is performing a base task, yet are nobly undergone means he can still retain his noble character even if he is doing a base task. And most poor matters point to rich ends. And he says most poor matters is, here poor matters refers to difficult activities. Most difficult activities often point to rich ends means have rich results. If something is tiring now, it may bear rich results. This my mean task, and he constantly refers to manual work as base work, as mean task, as manual labor, because it has a low status. It is done by his servants. He has never, being of royal blood, has performed any menial task. So he constantly refers to his task as base work, something that is low, something that is of a low status. Would be as heavy to me as odious. So he is alone, so he is speaking his mind aloud, and he says that this base task is as heavy. Heavy here means it fills my heart with sorrow. It is as sorrowful, as odious, as it is hateful to me. I hate doing this work and it fills my heart with sorrow. That is what he tries to say. But the mistress which I serve quickens what's dead. But he says, the mistress, that is, the mistress here, he is referring to Miranda. He feels that he is working for Miranda, not for Miranda's father, and he says, I serve her, which I serve, whom I am serving at the moment. She quickens what's dead. Quickens means she has the power to make alive. Quicken means makes alive something that is dead, and makes my labors pleasures. And she has the power to transform Ferdinand's labor, Ferdinand's hard work to pleasure, to something that is pleasurable. He can bear this trouble of manual work, he's bearing or suffering this, he could endure this entire difficult task only because he feels that he is working or he is serving Miranda, and her thoughts somehow make him cheerful even in such dire conditions. Oh, she is 10 times more gentle than her father's craft. So he says that she is somehow, she is 10 times more gentle. So he uses a kind of hyperbole, says that she is 10 times more kind than her father is crabbed. Crabbed means someone who has an irritable temper, someone who doesn't have a kind heart or doesn't have a kind disposition or nature. So crabbed is someone who has an irritable temper. And he is composed of harshness. So Ferdinand says that, and Miranda's father, that is Prospero, is completely composed. He is made up of harshness, made up of severity and rudeness, because he has forced him to do this, because Prospero has forced Ferdinand to do this work. I must remove some thousands of these logs and pile them up upon a sore injunction. He says, I must remove. He has no other option but to remove some thousands of these logs and pile them up upon a sore injunction. Sore means harsh, injunction means order. Since Prospero has given him such a harsh order, now he is forced to somehow pile up these logs, and he must endure this trouble. He must continue doing this base lowly work. My sweet mistress weeps when she sees me work, and says such baseness had never like executor. So he says that he has seen his sweet mistress, that is, he has seen Miranda weep, cry whenever she sees Ferdinand working, and she says that such baseness, such low work, base is the manual labor that he is undergoing, such low work was never performed, had never like executor means was never performed by someone like Ferdinand, who is a highborn. But these then he says, I forget. So when he was thinking aloud, when he was thinking about all these things, suddenly we assume that he forgot to do his work. He was not doing his work and thinking. He must have stopped in his work, he had stopped piling the logs, and he was only thinking aloud. So he suddenly is reminded that he needs to pile up the logs. So he says, I forget. So Ferdinand was forgetting his work. But these sweet thoughts do even refresh my labors most busiest when I do it. Now this line is very important. You often get reference to context from this particular line. Here Ferdinand says that, but these sweet thoughts do even refresh my labors. He said the sweet thoughts about Miranda, it even refreshes him, it rejuvenates him, and he could regain the power of continuing his work even when he is most busy. Most busy list is the form, it's a kind of superlative that is being used, which indicates that when he is busiest, then also Miranda's thoughts refresh him and give him power to continue his manual work. So he admits that. Now, after this soliloquy is very important. You often get questions that ask you to list down the important things that you can note in the soliloquy, or there are questions such as write the importance of Ferdinand's soliloquy. Now, first, you will have to mention that it is important because it shows his sincerity. He's alone, he's speaking out aloud. He's not trying to impress anyone, or he's not trying to portray himself in a different light, because he's alone, and he honestly voices his sincerity towards Miranda. And then you should elaborate on the matter of the soliloquy, what he says, what are the things that he compares, how he looks at the base work, and how he thinks that Miranda has the power to rejuvenate him even when he is most busy trying to finish his work. So all these details should go in the answer. Okay, let us look at the next part. Enter Miranda and Prospero at a distance unseen. So now entrance of Prospero here is also very important. We see that Miranda comes in here. She is there to visit Ferdinand, and Prospero is also there. You will find that all through Tempest, you will see that Prospero is only present in scenes which are extremely important. In other cases, he always instructs Ariel to carry out his orders. But here he is present himself because he has no control over the lovers. He has no control over how they react to one another. And Prospero wants to see how they interact with one another, because the romantic subplot, that is the love that blooms between Miranda and Ferdinand, is extremely important for Prospero as well to carry out his elaborate plan. Whatever he had planned, it cannot be executed properly until and unless Ferdinand and Miranda falls in love completely. So Prospero is present there, but he is not seen. Please understand that he is unseen by both the lovers, by both Miranda and Ferdinand. They cannot see Prospero. Miranda, alas now, pray you work not so hard. So she comes in, and the moment she sees Ferdinand working, she says, alas now. Alas is an expression of grief. She is extremely troubled to see Ferdinand doing this kind of manual labor. And she is distressed because he is having to do this hard work, and Ferdinand, definitely being a prince, is not used to such hard work. And she says, pray you means I request you, work not so hard. So she says, do not work so hard, please rest a while. And then she says, I would the lightning had, that is, if I had control over lightning, if she had power over lightning, burnt up those logs that you are enjoined to pile. So she says that if I had power over lightning, I would have ordered lightning to strike up on these logs, and I would have ordered it to burn up the entire pile of logs which you have been enjoined to pile. Means, the word enjoined means ordered or instructed to pile. Pray set it down and rest you. And she says, pray, I request you again, please set it aside and please rest for a while. When this burns, this is the logs which Ferdinand is piling. And she says that when these logs burn, it will weep. Underline the word weep. it has a dual meaning, and for having wearied you. So she says, she here employs a personification. She says that when the wood would go inside the fire, once it starts burning, it would weep for making you tired. She says that the woods will weep to see Ferdinand tired, would feel guilty that the wood has made Ferdinand tired. There is another meaning of weep as well. It means that when log is burnt, a kind of sticky liquid known as resin seeps out of the logs. It is a reference to that as well. But here Miranda personifies the log and says that the log will weep for making you tired. My father is hard at study. Pray now rest yourself. And she again requests Ferdinand to rest. She says that Prospero, she believes that her father Prospero is in his study now. He is there. He is safe for these 3 hours. He is safe for these 3 hours means he will remain safely in his study for 3 hours. He will be studying. O most dear mistress, Ferdinand answers her, says, O most dear mistress, the sun will set before I shall discharge what I must strive to do. So he says that the sun will set before, set before I shall discharge means I'll be able to complete the task. So he is trying to finish his task, complete his task before the sun sets. And he says, he reminds Miranda and says that if I rest now, perhaps I'll not be able to finish the work before sunset. So he says, O most dear mistress, the sun will set before I shall discharge what I must strive to do. So he must finish the work before, he must complete the work before the sun sets. Miranda says, now this part is very important because it shows that they are, Miranda is willing to take up all the trouble that is needed in order to finish the task. She offers to help. She says, if you will sit down, I will bear your logs the while. Pray give me that, I'll carry it to the pile. So Miranda, she has been raised on this particular island, and she does not have any notions about manual labor. She does not think that manual labor is a low work, is a base work, because she is used to doing her own work, doing manual labor, doing manual work. So for her it is not something that is base or lowly. So she offers to help Ferdinand and says that while you rest, I will carry the logs for you during that time. Pray give me that. And she tries to take away the pile of logs from Ferdinand, and she tries to carry it to the pile. She tries to take the logs and pile it nearby. Ferdinand's response is also very important because it shows that since he has been raised in a palace, he is quite aware of certain customs, and he knows that it is not chivalrous for a man to allow the lady to work. So he protests and he says that it is impossible for him to allow Miranda to work while he rests. So he says, no precious creature, I had rather crack my sinews. Sinews means his muscles. He would rather crack his muscles. Crack is sprain his muscles, break my back, break his back, than you should such dishonor undergo while I sit lazy by. Look at his choice of words. He says it is dishonorable. He thinks it is a dishonorable task, and he will not allow his precious lady to perform this dishonorable task. While I sit lazy by means while I rest. Miranda's response is also very important and shows that she does not have such notions in her head regarding manual work or labor. And she says, it would become me as well as it does you. So she says that it will be as fitting for me as it is for you. There is no difference. I will be able to carry out the task it is not too difficult for me, and it is going to be as fitting, as appropriate for me as it is for you. And I should do it with much more ease. And she says, I'll be able to do it with much more ease. I will be able to complete the task more easily. For my goodwill is to it, and yours it is against. And she says that I'll be able to finish the work, and it will be easy for me to finish the work because I will do it with a willing heart, with a willing mind. My goodwill is to it. I'm willing to complete the work. And yours it is against, while you are averse to it. You detest this manual labor, while I will be able to do it willingly. But you detest it. Since I'll be doing this work willingly, I'll be able to complete the task easily. Prospero aside, this is also a very important line. I suggest you all underline this line. Poor worm, thou art infected. So poor worm is a reference to Miranda, and here he is calling Miranda because a poor worm is a reference to the fact that she is infected with what? She is infected with love for Ferdinand. And he says that Miranda is infected with love in this case, not any disease. And he says why Prospero is now sure of it, because he says this visitation shows it. Visitation is Miranda's visit to Ferdinand when Prospero is away, shows that she is completely in love with Ferdinand. Miranda says, you look wearily, and she is constantly concerned about Ferdinand's well-being, and she says, you look tired. You look wearily means you look tired. Ferdinand says, no, noble mistress, it is fresh morning with me when you are by at night. So he says, no, noble mistress, it is fresh morning with me means it appears to be fresh morning when you are by at night. When you are at night with me, the night also appears to be fresh morning. It also appears to be as beautiful as fresh morning. I do beseech you. Beseech means I request you. Chiefly that I might set it in my prayers. And he says, and he does not complete the sentence, and he says, I request you mainly, chiefly means mainly, so that I may mention it in my prayers. So that I might set it in my prayers means so that I may mention it in my prayers. What is your name? So Ferdinand asks her name. Miranda instantly answers, and she says, Miranda, oh my father, I have broke your hest to say so. So Miranda can no longer follow her father's orders, and she says, my name is Miranda. Oh my father, and she instantly remembers that she has broken her father's hest means her father's command. She was asked not to visit Ferdinand. She was forbidden to visit Ferdinand, but she goes in, she tries to help Ferdinand, and now she utters her name. She informs Ferdinand her name, and she realizes that she has broken her father's command. Okay, we stop here for the day. I hope I hope you all have no problem with the content that we just discussed. It is quite, since the language is a little different from the colloquial English that we speak these days, it is good if you can sit with your textbook while you are watching the video, so that you can note down the footnotes and the word meanings that I give you while I am teaching the text. I hope this was helpful. If you like my work, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. If you have any further questions, please write it down in the comment section. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'll again meet you all in the next video. Thank you.